HPUSA TV presents Rikk R Treaters Pumpkin Patch. Will you ride or die? Can your band survive?
Welcome to the Pumpkin Patch. I am your favorite vegan edge spooky boy. If you don't count early Davey Havoc, and if you do, that's okay. Then I'm your second favorite vegan edge spooky boy, Rikk R Treat, he, him. I am here with Mr. Myke Damage, he, him as well, who has, actually, he's the one who did the theme song for my show. He performs in a band called Cemetery Static. What's up, Myke? How you doing, man?
Not bad, Rick. You need to get a better theme song, bro.
Well, you know, I think the guy who wrote it did it in a few days because he's a badass that way. So.
No, he's gonna get you a new one though. Way better. Way better.
Well, you know what? You know me. I'm stoked to hear any of the things that you do, and I really appreciate you being on here talking to me.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. So my first question to you. This one's always the fun, confusing one.
Bring it.
Favorite Mortal Kombat character?
Oh, you bastard.
Okay.
I like Smoke, man.
Okay. Robot Smoke or Ninja Smoke?
Ninja Smoke.
MK3?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
a good one.
Cool. I am, while I'm not the best MK fighter, I am definitely a huge fan, so I know that's literally all I've been doing in the last month. They started
I'm just
announcing
waiting for
movie
your
stuff.
Mortal Kombat fanfiction, man.
What's that?
I'm just waiting for your Mortal Kombat fanfiction.
Oh, you know what? I can't write for shit, so I'm gonna I'm leaving that to the guys who can do it really well. That's what I've been reading. That's become mental lore now because they're doing it better than the games are doing it now.
Well, I wouldn't put it on the internet because like once it's out on the internet, you're gonna have tons of weird anime stuff coming in. You don't want to see any of that.
Yeah, that's true. You can't control the internet. But so for those watching who don't know you, would you share a little bit about the band that you perform in?
Sure. Cemetery Static started actually in 2004.
Nice.
I was in a street punk band before, and I got kicked out. And I picked up a bass one day because I was a drummer before. And I bought a bass off a dude who came in the gas station I worked at. He was like, I don't have any money for gas. I have this bass, this amp, and all this crap. I'll give it to you. I was like, fine, fill your tank up. Brought it to me. And I've been going through a really bad breakup and stuff. So I started putting it together. And I always wanted to play in a horror punk band since hearing like Morning Noise in like 2000. And it was like late 2000. I had a buddy burning on tape. So I just started writing horror punk songs. And I had a 4-song demo that's out on the Audio Nasty 7-inch on the Bandcamp site. And it started from there, man. And
Nice.
I have like 200-something songs I've written over the past since 2004. And I'm just since 2016 starting to like release everything. So
Okay,
long
cool.
time coming.
Yeah. So I take it that you didn't have a big enough mohawk or big enough Liberty Spikes to play in that street punk band?
Dude, I started like losing my hair at like 16 or 17. And so it was like, dude, there's no point. You can't do it. You know.
That's where the street punk cred went away. So you had said that Morning Noise was the catalyst for you getting into horror punk. Is that correct?
Yeah. I heard. Yeah, because a buddy of mine takes not Evil Eye, but shit, what was it? I'm so not good at Misfit stuff.
That's all right.
The one with Doyle playing guitar.
Sure. Walk Among Us?
Yes, that one.
Huh.
I heard it and I wasn't into it. And then a buddy else was like, you might like this. He got it from his brother. It was Morning Noise and like really pumped me up, man. So I'm like more the hardcore side of stuff, so it was right up my alley.
Sure, like their stuff is more within the vein of like, you know, early hardcore punk
Right.
that the Misfits were doing on, at least on Walk Among Us, right?
Yeah, and I do like the Misfits a little bit. Just like it's really putting off when people just get so hard on one band, you know?
Sure. I get that. It's funny seeing, you know, everyone, you know, kind of partaking in the group shit posting on that group. To me, it's funny because, you know, people are unaware of how many other, you know, great bands there are. On the flip side, it's hard because it's like, oh well, now these people may not want to listen to it, but
Exactly.
you know, it is what it is. It's a double-edged sword, I guess.
Those Rangers too, they're really amazing too. They were that time so good too.
Okay. You had mentioned they were like they're more of an '80s hardcore band as well, right?
Yeah, well, they have like what's cool about them is like they had really strong death rock and goth influences.
Okay.
Mixed up hardcore. It was P. Marshall from Sam Hain played guitar after Sam Hain in that band.
Oh, nice.
They were killer.
Okay, cool. That actually brings me to the next part of my question was, you know, your music mixes a lot of not only hardcore influence, but like very specific sounding hardcore. You know, I noticed wearing like a DI hat. A lot of it to me sounds like very Southern California influenced hardcore. Tell me about that.
Guilty as charged, bro. I one of my hugest influences aside from Tommy from Morning Noise is Rikk Agnew, man.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
His guitar playing was amazing, and it just gave that extra bit of flavor to the Orange County bands. Like all those guys are just so cool. And when Rick did his All by Myself record, he did everything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do the same thing, just like him. And so there's no. It's by design that we sound. I try to get to sound like those bands.
Sure.
Sometimes I wish I was like harder and faster, you know, like an SOA or something. But I'm more of a DI adolescence kind of guy.
Sure. When I first heard your music, when I was doing my like mega EP review, that's the first thing I heard. Was like, this sounds like the Adolescents to me. And you know, I played in a band. My first, you know, band that played shows were called Girls. You know, so that's straight up an Adolescents influence from the name. And so I really dug that. You know, I like that that flavor of hardcore, the SoCal flair, and I think it's cool that you recognize, you know, that kind of is a Rikk Agnew thing. You know, without him and his stylings, I don't think those bands would be the same. You know, that's why. You know, no offense to any of you goths out there, but not as many people care about anything after, you know, Only Theater of Pain. Not only because of Roz, but I think, you know, Rick had a lot to do with the sound of it. So, yeah, that's cool, man. I dig that sound. Are those bands the main current influence? Do you have any other like I don't want to say up and coming influences or anything like that, but you know, bands that are in the scene right now that are more active that you're really into that influences stuff that you're playing?
Yeah, Video Massacre, Tony Marks is a part of that collective. They're really good. There's some band called The Riders that are pretty damn good that I'm kind of into. And Nightbirds, most definitely Nightbirds.
Dude, Nightbirds
I can't play guitar,
rad.
but I'm just trying to do what I can to ape some of that style, man. They got so much energy.
Sure.
And
have you seen them live?
No.
I saw them play at Sound and Fury a few years ago. I was thrown off because it sounded like old school AFI, like Answer That, Stay Fashionable AFI to me.
The good AFI.
This is awesome. Whoa. Let's get this straight. This is my show. No one talks about AFI but me. No.
Got you. I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good. I'm just fucking with you. But yeah, like their early stuff, like even before they got gritty. You know, that's what Nightbird sounded like to me.
But I'm like right now I'm like because I have so many songs, and you can tell like when I go back and listen to what little bits I have recorded that you can tell by listening to each one, like their distinct, like the time frame in which they were written.
Sure,
so you can hear a progression, and I try to mix up everything I put into what I release from those time frames, so it doesn't sound like in a time capsule itself. But I'm actually trying to interject some gore grind stuff, maybe a little bit here and there, some blast beats, little bits of things that I like, to maybe even stand out more in the scene than just being a one-man band with no guitar.
Sure. Are you, if I remembered correctly, the last interview you did, you had mentioned that you had another member. Are you still
that's
live, or?
That's when we play live, but
okay.
The way things are going and all the hecticness of the time period, I'm going to push it back a little bit playing live, but there might be like streaming things like you guys did or something.
Yeah.
Just not right now.
Okay, I see. Does that make it, I mean, you've been in bands before. What is what's your take on doing it all on your own? Like, how has that been for you?
It's been cool. I get along kind of with the dude I'm in the band with. I get full creative control, Danzig style. Practice whenever I want, but that's also the bad part, because like you don't have any incoming like guys saying, "Hey, that's shitty, don't do that," or "Change this up here," or "Hey, you're on a power trip, Myke, chill out." So it's, and plus when you have band members, they push you to go further, and I can be really bad about procrastinating and stepping back on myself. So it's a double-edged sword.
Sure. In doing that, I was going to mention, like, a lot of the things that you're doing is very DIY. Do you feel like the way that I talk to like others about it is sort of this like creative versus this sort of business piece? Do those clash for you, or? And I guess the way that I mean it is like putting things out,
There's absolutely no business. I like anything. I lose money, man.
Well, I guess I mean business as far as like putting stuff out, the marketing aspect of it.
I like it because I put everything out through Bandcamp, and that's just, I put it out. Everybody gets what they want for free,
Sure.
I make spray paint shirts, and the split recently we did with a casket case.
Yeah.
I made actual physical copies and went in full DIY with like professional copies and stuff.
Yeah.
Like paper and pins and all kinds of accoutrement, and I made 200 copies, man, and it's like an arduous task for one person, and I finally got them all done. I just gotta burn to order now, But I would much rather just do digital copies of everything. But it kind of sucks too, because I like all the art and everything. I'm really heavy on that 80s hardcore flyer art scene. So I like doing the art with everything.
Do you think that if you had, like, if this was a, couple guy band, like 4 or 5 different people band, that would be an easier task for you, or would that slow you down?
I think that would actually be much easier. I don't know. There's camaraderie when you're doing all that stuff together as a band.
Sure. When
you're by yourself, it's like, fuck, one more.
Right.
You're looking at your watch, man. It's time to go to bed. I gotta be up for like 2 hours.
Yeah, it sounds like the reason I had asked about the DIY, artist and the business piece, that's at least the way I look at it, where it's like on one end I'm like, yeah, I want to play this show, I want to write this song and stuff. On the other hand, it's like, okay, well, I also need to help organize getting these things done and all that, and I can imagine that's hard to do, all of that on your own,
well, Rick, that's because you're in an awesome, successful, awesome band. You guys are gonna go places, man. I'm just like one dude in Texas who's rocking out by himself, for himself, and I really don't care about that. If other people like what I'm doing, that's awesome. But I don't see. There's no future in this for me. I'm just doing it because I love it. You guys, freaking the world is your oyster.
Sure, and I think I definitely have a lot of respect for that mentality. I am doing this for myself because I love it. I don't care if anyone cares about it or not. I've always had a lot of respect for that. So good on you, Myke. I dig that. Why do anything if you don't love it? you know. So that's dope. And one of the next questions that I had, and I think you mentioned it a little bit, but how I currently define horror punk is this, what I like saying it's the third wave, right? How do you feel things are within the current third wave? Like, what are your thoughts on that, and what are your thoughts on kind of being in it, putting out music to the horror punk scene?
Well, like I said, I started out in 2004.
Sure.
And like the first actual horror punk bands I got into, like I went on mp3.com and I scooped up Cancer Slug, the horror album, and I scooped up this band called Bony Fiend and Rip Snorter. And I learned then that horror punk was like hit or miss, the way it sounds, because I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't know what to expect, really. And so writing and recording little demos here and there through that time, I never felt like I was a part of this scene, really. And I kind of had a bit of animosity because, like, my band is in like a negative zone pretty much, where I use the grindcore term that I'm too hardcore for horror punk and I'm too horror punk for hardcore.
Sure.
And nobody wants to deal with it. So right now, I love it, man. I feel really a part of it because of the guys at HPUSA and Ronan and Steph and the Bullfather. All you guys are like building this collective, and it's awesome because now some jerk in Texas who has shitty music can just go ahead and hang out with the main players in the scene and talk and spread their message. And it's just I like the connectivity of everything. It actually feels like there's a lot of camaraderie, and no one's there to like bring you down. They're all just trying to uplift you, and I love that.
Sure. I got sort of a similar response from David of Evelyn's Casket that right now I obviously I can't speak for like the second wave. I'm sure that was there for a lot of people as well. But at least in this particular experience is that most people are really open to the new sounds. Like you said, adding the hardcore element isn't absolutely like the most normal thing in the genre, but I think people have the openness to be able to digest it differently than they maybe would have like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, so that's cool. I'm glad you're experiencing it. That I'm glad to be a part of that too. Me, I don't remember. I don't think we met when I was in JXV, but I come from
right to tail end, man.
Okay. I come from listening primarily to like metalcore, post-hardcore, hardcore stuff, originally. So I got a lot of love for that sound. Maybe not as much for the scene, because, like you said, sometimes it's that sort of alienation piece, like being too different from those bands, So it's tough, man. But
sometimes we'll be a little narrow-minded in our views of that.
Oh yeah, totally. It's like you said, too hardcore for horror punk, too horror punk for hardcore. I always felt that way in JXV, but I definitely got a better vibe in the horror punk scene with it than I did in the hardcore scene for sure. So we're talking about this within a sort of microcosm of the horror punk scene. Is there a connection to the hardcore scene in Texas for you?
Not really. The main connection influence of that would be like the metal tinged hardcore bands.
Okay,
like,
sure.
Our forefathers here in Texas is the Grave Robbers. My buddy Chris played bass for that band, and Steven Redmond, the singer, is the one who got me into like hardcore, like Fulci movies and Italian movies and the real gory stuff that was like under the radar, where we'd go on eBay at odd hours of the night to look for like videotapes that had been taped over like 1,000 different times with like each missing second. So like this movie has like 10 minutes of extra footage, you gotta have the best and know your horror stuff. So he introduced me to all that, and they sounded a lot like JXV, dude.
Okay.
They're really good, and I think they were a lot before their time. But them teaching me about that's the hardcore connection. Other than that, I'm not really. I'm some old dude in Texas in the sticks, you know.
Uh-huh. It's funny because from what I do know about you, or from what what you're adding to my knowledge in talking about this, is it almost sounds like all of the genre pieces that you play aren't really like it's like a metal guy playing in a horror punk band. It's like, I listen to these things, but I play this. It kind of sounds like that. There's like you said, there's not a huge connection into the hardcore scene, and that's the musical influence that you're bringing into horror punk. I think that's cool. I think it's definitely says something about your creativity to be like, hey, I'm gonna do this, but over there, basically.
Right.
So that's dope. It's funny. Before I forget, I always there's that weird experience of like all the bands after like second wave Misfits, where it's like a metal guitarist trying to do horror punk and not doing it very well. You got a lot of those bands in Texas, Myke.
Man, it's rough, man. Once you get past all the shitty Danzig impressions and Grave impressions, we're good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you could get past that.
For
me, that's the hard one sometimes for me. I love all music, to a certain extent, but sometimes the ones that'll turn me off is like the vocals on this aren't up to, maybe not up to what I want it to sound like. It's hard sometimes.
This band's recording is really awful.
Well, see, but that's hard too, though, because sometimes that sounds better.
Sometimes
it goes back and forth. It's like sometimes bands are too produced and it doesn't sound good with what they're doing, and sometimes they're not produced enough and it doesn't sound good with what they're doing. It's like, give me a happy medium. Figure out what you want to do.
That's all we want is a happy medium. And I'm like, what's the word? I don't know. I'll figure it out later. Forget it, man.
No worries. Well, what I was going to say was like the stuff that you've sent me that's separate from even the recordings is just the demo stuff, but even that works with the sound you're going for.
I appreciate that. It's nice to have a springboard to bounce your ideas off of. I guess you'd be the unofficial ghost member of Cemetery Static.
Yeah, brain trust.
Brain trust.
So while on the topic of your music, tell me about the latest split that you released. That you guys just recently released.
Casket Hates, my buddy Chuck. He was actually tried to play guitar.
Okay.
In Cemetery Static in 2015 to 2016, and we tried practicing and it just didn't work. Like the way I play the bass, like besides being how crappy it is, but I don't play it normally. When he put guitar to it, it didn't work. It sounded crazy off, and he even submitted the same track, but he had put guitar over it for a compilation. And the guy's like, I'm taking the track without the guitar because the guitar sounds weird. So he's actually the guy from Casket Case.
Yeah.
He's doing all this stuff as a one-man band, and I was like, do you want to do a split, man? Because he was had some songs and showed me, and I thought they were pretty cool. Like, well, I'm going to do a split, so screw it. Let's try it out. I've been on splits before, and you're better than some, Yeah. So we did it, and he recorded all this stuff on his phone, and it sounded good for how he did it. And I put it all out on my Bandcamp, and I made some physical copies because I wanted to show people that I'm not just like the thrift store guy, that I can actually put something decent out.
Sure.
And I was happy with it, man. It's got a pretty good reception, and like the biggest success of that whole thing was the Ride There's 5 Cent Freak Show mashup song.
I was gonna ask about that. I was gonna tell you. Yeah, I've told you before after I heard it, but I mean, I really appreciate the entire thing all of the music you have on that. But you took that particular song, being the other ones being originals, this one being a mashup of the two, and completely made it your own. What was that process like for you? Being able to kind of tear apart both of those tracks, or the writer's one not being a full track, but you know what I mean.
Well, y'all's part was the easiest because your drumming and the bass parts, fit perfect. But you were the one, because I was having a lot of trouble with trying to translate 5 Cent Freak Show's sound over to mine, because Bilo plays the stand-up bass, and it's a completely different monster.
Sure.
And to be honest, that took a couple of months trying to figure out. I could never figure it out. And I was talking to you, and I was like, man, their bridge towards the end of the song, it's like I don't know what to do with it. I can't do it because it's like a lot of a guitar solo, and I don't know what to do. And you're like, why don't you put Kill the Monster's bridge on there? I'm like, it's a good idea. So I started toying with it, and I just totally, after one night again, just so frustrated, like, I was like, I'm just going to make this my own. I'm not going to do it like they did it, because I'm no 5 Cent Freak Show by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm just going to do it like how I would do it.
Yeah. So originally, were you trying to do it kind of, because you slowed it down? So I think that tempo change is really what makes it sound like you.
Yeah.
Kind of giving it again that SoCal hardcore vibe
I ran
to
through
it.
my adolescence filter.
Yeah, you did. But so originally you had intended on doing it kind of in their style, like faster. Okay.
But
that'd have been interesting. I mean, I'm sure you'd have killed it on that too.
Doing it that way, y'all's bridge fits so well. I was like, man, this is gonna be killer. I was actually more impressed with that bridge part than anything else, just because, damn, this is channeling the writers. I'm no Robert or nothing, but this is damn good.
Yeah, I was like I said, the entire release that was impressive to me. I like that vibe. Even Chuck's stuff, recorded on a phone, came out well. But I was obviously, I'm a little narcissistic in that sense. I like hearing my own stuff covered and represented. But I think you killed it. You knocked it out of the park having those things put together, man.
I'm appreciative that you guys let me do that. So it's like trusting some stranger with your baby,
Sure. I think it all worked out for the best. It was all right. It was fun.
Where'd you go?
Both ends. I know, right? Oh no!
Paranormal activity, man.
Sorry, I sat on my light. There we go. And that's the part that we're cutting out. Maybe, probably. I don't know. Who knows?
That's kind of spooky, man.
I know. I got spooky for a second.
You need during that part, you have to have like a jack-o'-lantern thing that comes up for like the old Batman, and does spinny shit.
That's what I wanted. So if you've seen my old episodes, I've tried to do something like that, but it's just a picture of like a pumpkin like smashed in half, and it's like oops, and then it goes away. But I can't. My editor is really bad, so my editing software is really bad, so it's a lot harder to do than it sounds.
But I believe it, man. Or you just get like a piece of paper, draw it on there,
and then spin it.
Yeah, spin it, dude. Old school.
Yeah, for reals. So my next question is about, you started posting about the upcoming EP with the Creepers, correct?
Yep.
Tell me about that one.
Rob, Mr. Van Gool, we've been talking a little bit, and he showed me the Creepers stuff that he was doing, and I dug it. And I was like, well, if you want to get your songs out, man, let's. I just came off of the split, man. I don't mind being a part of another split to get your stuff out there. We put it on your Bandcamp to get more traffic to your site, helping you out a little bit. You're helping me out, spread mine. We're all just one big family here, so screw it, why not?
Yeah, totally.
All about it, so that's what brought it up. But I wanted I got a bad habit, as you know, of putting too many songs on splits and going last.
Mm-hmm.
So I told Rob about this, and I'm only doing 4 songs, and we're gonna alternate mine first, his second, and so on.
Okay,
that way
cool.
We'll keep it fresh.
Cool.
Another Rikk idea.
I was like, I was listening when you said it. I'm like, hey, I think I said that.
You did.
I'm chock full of them. Not always the greatest, but you know they.
Brain trust.
Brain trust. But so you said a bad habit. I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing, having a good amount of songs on your side of the split. But with bringing forth some of the information you had said earlier, are these songs going to be old songs put on this split, or do you go and revamp them, or are you writing new songs for it?
I'm not gonna go full Cancer Slug and just re-release the same like 20 songs every album.
Sure. But, understandable.
They're all older songs, but none that I've recorded before.
I see. Okay.
But I'm not gonna revamp them because they sound good how they are. I'm not trying to be narcissistic, but nobody's heard them that way before.
Sure.
And when I release them, I find, hey, I'm not digging this too much. I can always go back and change it up next album or later on down the road. Sure.
I mean, that's at least in my opinion, that's like live stuff.
I did live. There is one song I did record before. The Brain Bat song is gonna be on there. It's super influenced by Corrupted Morals. And that band, they're freaking amazing. But I screwed up the ending chorus on the original release on Audio Nasties, so I'm redoing it better.
Okay.
It will be a little bit revamped.
Okay,
that's the only song on there that's been recorded before.
Nice. I guess what I mean by revamped is with the ones that aren't recorded, are you gonna go in and kind of add the flair of current Myke influence, or are you gonna keep it the way that it sounded like, you know, Myke in 2004 wrote it?
I'm gonna keep it like it is, but I'm thinking about after the split, maybe doing like 5 or 6 songs of the newer stuff that I've actually recorded. I mean, made like within the past like 4 or 5 months, because it sounds wild, man. Before horror punk, I was into gore grind because I came from like power violence and stuff, and gore grind is like horror punk's like step cousin, you know. Sure. There's some influence there that I think needs to be put out there, so I'm thinking about that.
That's rad. I many years ago made a meme where it was like the range of horror music, and on one hand it was like the Monster Mash, that's like the far campy side, and the super extreme non-campy side was like Cannibal Corpse, but I feel like gore grind would be kind of towards that direction, the sort of like furthest extreme of horror punk, and the Misfits were somewhere in the middle, you know.
Well, it's like obviously very campy. Horror punk for metalheads, man.
Totally.
And that's a whole untapped market.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. It's weird. A lot of the band, not a lot, but a few bands that I've heard more recently are mixing in black metal influences into their, or horror punk influences into black metal, or vice versa. And it's interesting. It's black metal is not necessarily my favorite flavor of metal, so it kind of a little bit goes over my head as far as those bands go. But the concept is cool, you know, because we're just goofballs in makeup listening to punk rock, and they're goofballs in makeup listening to metal, you know. Man, and I say that with so much love for the black metal scene.
You're going to get so much hate. They're going to burn your church down.
Oh, dude, they hate everything. One of my closest friends, so the singer of one of the singers of JXV, he's huge into black metal. So I got a lot of love for you guys, but I know that some of those guys are very elite. Okay, they're not watching these videos anyway.
I'm gonna look on the HPUSA webpage one day, and it's like Rick's brain eaten by Robert.
Right. I'm gonna be. I'll end up being the next big like tabloid musician, you know, concept.
He died too young and too pretty.
The legend they make a movie about.
Dude, who would play you in a movie?
I don't know.
Jason Momoa, obviously.
I'm going to take that compliment. I'm going to run with it.
Should.
I don't know if I agree, but I love it. So, before we wrap up, I was wondering, do you have anything to add or anything to plug for the viewers?
Not really, man. I'm terrible at that kind of thing. Be on the lookout for the split coming out. We hope to have it out like midsummer would be cool.
Cool.
Because he's actually getting his tracks produced, which is awesome. And I'm trying my damnedest to make it sound even on the same ballpark.
Sure.
But if you like my stuff, go check out our Bandcamp site. Everything's for free. We got lots of stuff up there. And yeah. I've been working on my reggae bass playing.
Nice.
I suck at bass, but I'm doing the reggae bass playing. And that's what I'm thinking about for the next record with the newer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's even going to be like a reggae instrumental called Urban Pacification Unit about that RoboCop 2 robot that was like designed to run on drugs and shit.
Sure.
Sorry. And yeah, man, it's about that one, that robot. So instrumental about that robot. It's gonna be cool. So it's gonna be gore grind, it's gonna be reggae, it's gonna be hardcore, and who knows?
All those weird untapped markets that I think horror punk is missing out on.
We're gonna scoop it up.
I think that's for me personally, that's one of the cooler pieces about the third wave is that it's not all, as much as I love doo-wop, it's not all doo-wop. It's influence stuff. It's everything. We got us guys doing like the horror punkabilly stuff. We got you doing the hardcore and then mixing in the gore grind and all that, like you're talking about. 5 Cent doing more of like a Blitz Kid meets psychobilly stuff.
Love it, man. There's
Casket bringing that kind of stuff where everyone's just throwing in all the influences and just wearing them on their sleeve.
That's what's so cool, man.
That's totally. That's like, what's making us different.
That's what I like about our wave a lot, because it goes from narrow to we're just like throwing in the kitchen sink, man.
Totally. And I think it goes back again, like we're doing it for us, and it's cool if people like it, but just have fun with it,
For real.
Be as weird as possible. So, for everyone out there watching, I will have the links down below. I will also say, if you haven't already, definitely check out the artwork for the Cemetery Static split with the Creepers. It's badass. Myke did that as well, and he is an awesome DIY artist. So definitely a lot of love for the stuff that you've been doing and sending out, even if it's just those sketches, man. Like, they look rad.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
I like doing stuff for my friends.
Yeah, you did a little some Ryther stuff and got me in the Crush the Crush Hardcore Kid hat, and I dig it. A lot of fun. On that note, this has been Myke Damage. I have been Rikk R Treaters, and you have been watching the Pumpkin Patch on HPUSA TV. Please like, please subscribe, and be good to each other. Don't be assholes. I'll see you guys on the next one.
What do you ride or die?